In this lesson, we will learn how to work with bones in 3ds Max. Our aircraft's rig is just about finished. We only have a few more things to do and we can get right into animation. So let's go ahead and talk about bones. Just like our bones in 3ds Max are used to deform surfaces. So commonly they'd be used then to deform creatures for animation. In this case, we'll use bones to rig the fueling line so that we can get some really nice results, have it deform very nicely so that when it's time to animate this, it'll look realistic during our flight sequence, and we'll take care of that towards the end of the animation section. So we're getting it rigged now. Now, right now the fueling line is very faceted, doesn't quite look natural. So what we'd want to do is go in and smooth this out first. Instead of using a turbo smooth, what we could do is work with the line that was used to create this object. Since we still have modifier history on it, you can see the loft still exists, we could start to work with our loft settings. Now underneath skin parameters, this is what we can use, here it is, to increase the resolution of this object. But you can see as we start to adjust the path steps as well as the shape steps, we still get that very sharp look. So what we'd want to do then is go in and work with the line, get that smooth, and then we can start to use these settings to finish up. Alright, so let's go in, we'll press F3, and we'll go ahead and grab the line inside of the fueling line geometry. There we go. Should be labeled line 011. If you'd like, you can always rename this. Might go with the name of SHP for shape underscore fueling line 01. Okay, great. So now, in the vertex subobject level, we'd want to grab all of our vertices, right click, and now we can go and convert this to Bezier. So that's going to smooth out our curve. We also have handles we can use to adjust the smoothness. But that does not smooth our fueling line just yet. Remember, we need to go back to those step parameters. So let's go ahead and exit the vertex subobject level, go back to the fueling line, and with that selected underneath, again, skin parameters, we'll start to increase our path steps. So notice that starts to smooth things out a bit as the fueling line now conforms to its shape. Very nice. So I might bring this to about a value of 12. And then for the shape here, I think 2 would work very well, just to give this some nice roundness. Alright, so there we have it. So what we could do now with this object still selected is go ahead and hide it so we can snap bones to our line. We don't want to snap bones to each edge loop on this object because that would be a lot to have to deal with. So instead, we'll go ahead and make this work with a few amount of bones as possible. That way it's more manageable for animation. Alright, so let's go in and go to the display tab. We're going to choose hide selected underneath the hide rollout. Okay, great. So now we can go to our snap settings. Let's go ahead and right click and we'll turn off grid point snapping and enable vertex snapping. We don't have to enable snapping just yet. Just want to make sure those settings are ready. Everything looks like it's in place. So now it's time to bring out the bone tools. We find that underneath our animation menu, bone tools. Alright, so here they are. Now in this course, we're just doing a quick overview of our bone tools. If you'd like to learn more about them, feel free to take a look at Introduction to Rigging in 3ds Max. By the end of the course, we actually go through and show you how to create a custom muscle that holds volume. So you might be interested in taking a look at that. But what we want to do here is figure out how to create a bone chain at an angle. You can see if we were to go to any one of our orthographic views here, we don't quite have a good direction for the bone system we need to create. The best luck we'd have is the front view. But what we could do is work with our snap settings. We can snap from our start point to the end point of our shape, and then I'll show you a way we can segment the bone chain out and get it aligned properly. So this is going to be really cool. Let's go ahead and move back to the perspective view. I'm going to go ahead and select the line, and what we'll do is we'll go ahead and show its tick marks so we can go ahead and snap to them. So go ahead and just scroll down until we find our display properties, and we'll turn on vertex ticks. All right, so we know where each bone will be placed now. Let's go ahead and head over to Create Bones. We'll enable our snap tool. We're going to snap from our start point over to the end. I'll also minimize the bone tool so we can make sure that we do this properly. So we're snapping from our start point all the way to the very end of the line. So I might zoom in a bit closer. There we go. Now we can go ahead and right click to exit the creation process of our bone tool. Okay, great. So making sure that we're no longer in bones mode, I can now go ahead and take a look at this object. All right, this is going to work out very well. So how do we get this segmented now? Well, we go back to our bone tools to do that. What we could do is work with Refine. Here it is. So this will allow us to split the bone at each point we'd like to. So this is a great way to add resolution. We'll just go in, we'll find a vertex point. We'll go ahead and click on the bone object. Here's the next vertex point. Let's click. There's the next one. Click. Click. Might have to zoom in a little bit closer to get to the next point here. There we go. And there's another point. So we'll go ahead and create another bone. And it looks like we just have one more point to create. So I'll go ahead and zoom in close and create the bone. There we have it. All right, so how are we going to get this now matched to conform to our line? Let's go ahead and turn off refine mode, and we will now enter bone edit mode. So this is a way we can modify each bone individually. Let me go ahead and show you the importance of bone edit mode. Let's go ahead and press S to turn off snapping. Let's go ahead and grab one of our bone objects. Again, we can make sure the space is set to parent. We can start to move this around. Notice how only that bone object is moving. Now watch this. Let's go ahead and undo that back. Let's go ahead and turn off bone edit mode and start to move the bone. What you see is that it reacts differently. What we're doing with bones is we're essentially creating a hierarchy automatically. No need to parent. It's just a matter of clicking a few times, and as we click to create a bone, it's automatically added as the child object. All right, so in this case, what we need now is a way to move each bone individually to match it to the position needs to be lined to. So I'm just going in, now I'm adjusting this in the the Z and X. Now if I were to look at a top view, it almost looks like the root here needs to be adjusted, but we're in bone edit mode. So how can we adjust this? Well, if we were to double click on our parent bone, you could see that it will select all child objects. Great, so what we could do is now slide this over. I might go ahead and do that in world mode. There we go. So we'll just go ahead and slide that over so that it is aligned properly. Great. So now we can switch this back to parent space and go ahead and adjust each bone individually. So what's great about Max is there are several ways to take care of a task, which is wonderful. If you find that, hey, I accidentally did something I didn't quite want to, well, you might look for another way to take care of what you're trying to do. All right, excellent. Now take a look at this nub object. The nub is essentially the object at the very end of the chain. It's still a bone object, but you can see it doesn't share the length that the others do, because this is where the chain ends. So you can see it's not oriented to follow the last bone object here, and it's not a big deal. It doesn't have to, but if you would like, watch this. We could take that nub object, we can delete it. And now we could go ahead and select the last bone here, which is bone 8, and we could choose create end, and now we have a brand new nub, and it follows the orientation of the bone before it, which is really cool. All right, so what we want to do is just work with bone edit mode to align the rest of these objects. Just want to go in, select them, kind of slide them over in place. All right, great. And that's going to be the end of this lesson. So that in the next lesson, what we could do is work with inverse kinematics to speed up the time it takes to get this fueling line attached to our airship. So I'd say that the bone system here works very well. Let's go ahead and exit bone edit mode and stop the lesson. So in the next lesson, I'll introduce you to inverse kinematics.